I watched every live-action Superman movie ever made, and so I'm going to take the time today and go ahead and rank them all. And also just to let you guys know, I know some people have added Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice or Justice League to their rankings. I am not. I am sticking to Superman movies that are just about Superman, even though technically 2055. Anyways, even though the most recent James Gunn Superman movie isn't solely about Superman, sort of ish, but Superman movies. So the ones that are, because Justice League, it's about the Justice League, it has Superman, and Batman v Superman is a Batman and a Superman movie. So we're keeping it to just Superman. Anyways, starting off the list, at number 9, we have Superman and the Mole Men. Yes, the 1951 George Reeves Superman movie to kick off a Superman TV show back in the 1950s. Obviously, that's coming in last place. Who could be surprised? I mean, the movie doesn't even really have any actual action. It is like they didn't even have the effects to be able to do what you could do decades later, even today. There's not even like hardly any action. The Mole Men are just like the entire story is basically a guy drills down, or a town drills down so far that they end up discovering that there's something out there, and then Mole Men come up, kind of scare everybody, and then go back. That's pretty much it. It's an hour long. There's not much there. Obviously, it's going to be in last place. All right. Number 8, we have Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. This is another one where it's just like, I mean, the Christopher Reeves, as you progressed, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And this was the last of the Christopher Reeves era Superman movies, and it is at the very bottom of the list. You have a part that goes full sitcom with Clark Kent and Superman, both going on a double date with Lois Lane and this woman whose father bought the Daily Planet. It's like, and then Clark Kent has to go out, and then you have Superman come in, and then Superman go out, and Clark Kent come back in, and it's like, why are we doing this? They brought in Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor, great, lovely, and Lex Luthor creates Nuclear Man, and with at least with Nuclear Man, you can do whatever the heck you want with it, because he's a completely original character, from what I've heard. So it doesn't really matter what his superpowers are, except for the fact that he can't, like, whenever he's not in direct sunlight, then he shuts down, and then somehow when he's in the elevator on the moon, he now has access to direct sunlight, even though the entire way there he didn't. And also, I mean, really, you could just stick him on the dark side of the moon, and the guy, like, that's permadeath for this guy, because nobody can get to him, and no sunlight's ever gonna get there. So, yeah. And then also, there's this whole like plot where Superman's just like, oh, I'm gonna get rid of the entire world's nuclear supply, and like when he announces it, the entire world's just like, yay, he's getting rid of nuclear. It's like, if they were so happy about this, they could have just done it themselves. And in fact, they do it themselves. Like, Superman doesn't even force the countries to comply. They just happily comply. They're like, oh, you're going to get rid of nuclear? Okay, yeah, sure. Let's do it, let's go for it. Let's get rid of our nuclear supply. Even though they can make more whenever they want, and Superman, instead of just like confiscating them or whatever, they just voluntarily just launch them all off into space, and then he just kind of collects them. And it's like, yeah. This is just, it's just dumb. Like, it's just not a very good movie. There's just kind of a lot of things that's just like, this is kind of, ugh. Anyways, number 7, we got Superman 3. This one was just, okay. This one with Superman 3 and Superman 2, at least the theatrical cut. Richard Lester, I very much dislike him doing anything with Superman. I hate it, honestly. because he directed he did the theatrical cut. He's the one who took over in the theatrical cut for Superman 2, and he did Superman 3. And see, the thing is that he doesn't care at all, and that pisses me off. Honestly, it does. I like when you take a Superman movie and you're just like, we'll just give him whatever random powers, we'll just do whatever, it doesn't matter, right? And it's like, okay, now, that pisses me off. So like Superman 3, you've got this whole thing about a computer. I mean, like you take this, like it starts off like, it has like Richard Pryor's like pretty much the main character of this movie. And like he basically goes off and is like, oh, he's unemployed, he's unemployable because it seems like nobody really wants to hire this guy. And then he goes off and he learns computers. He has no idea what he's doing. And apparently he's good with computers. And then this guy who's not even really that smart, he's good at like what he can do. Like out of everything I see him do in the movie, anybody else could do it pretty easily. Like it doesn't seem like a very hard thing to do. It doesn't really look like he's any semblance of a genius. And then he scribbles down barely scribbles any schematics on a couple of napkins. They build this insane supercomputer, which is like, it's just like, okay, this is basically a machine that does magic or whatever, because at this point we don't even care. But like this guy's just like a bumbling idiot. They consider him to be this genius with computers, and this guy's a bumbling idiot. Like the only person convinced this guy is a genius is this Lex Luthor stand-in, who is also kind of an idiot. And then also the computers can do literal magic because you can type in stuff on a computer and it sends signals to a satellite. And that satellite can control the weather. Cool. Okay. So you just don't even care at this point. Great. Lovely. You just, and then apparently all the world's computers doesn't have a lick of security. And everything's connected by the internet in 1980 something. And there's no security on everything. And you can make robot. Okay. Yeah. It's nonsense. It's just, what are we doing here? And then also like the opening act, or like the opening scene of the movie is just a bunch of random nonsense and calamity and catastrophe for literally no reason. I think this is supposed to be more of a comedy. It wasn't funny. Was it supposed to be a comedy? That's what I've heard. It's not funny. I don't know. Maybe it would have been funny in 1980s, but I don't know. It's not funny. Speaking of Richard Lester, number 6 is Superman 2, the theatrical release. And now, those last few movies I had just watched for the first time. I had watched for the first time doing this ranking. Superman 2, the theatrical version, I had actually watched, I think it was last year. I was going through and I was rewatching a bunch of DC movies. And I was going through and I was watching the Superman movies. And I got to Superman 2 and I quit. Because I was like, nope, I am done. Now, I have gotten more positive about Superman and Superman 2 over time. Specifically watching all the movies and then kind of realizing, yeah, actually I kind of do like Christopher Reeves as Superman. But I still get pissed off at some of the things that they put in Superman 2. Specifically, all of the random nonsense that they just decide, hey, sure, Kryptonians can do whatever we want them to do. Yeah, sure, they're going to have a white beam from their finger and they can use telekinesis. Sure, you can say Superman just throws a cellophane S at people and capture them. And they teleport and they duplicate. And it's like, you're just making stuff up at this point. Like, guys, come on. Like, seriously. Like, please, like, do something. Like, please respect the source. Like, just keep the character in somewhat continuity. Like, let's not just throw things at the wall and just not care at all. I hated Superman 2. I don't really hate it as much anymore, especially after watching the Donner cut. Like, I'm not as pissed off about it anymore, but I just hate the absolute disrespect to the character that Superman 2 and 3 at least have. I can't remember if they did anything stupid with that in Superman 4. Yeah. Also, Superman, something I forgot to mention. One thing I really don't like in Superman 3 and 4 is they just decide to like move out Lois Lane and then just to bring in another woman as a love interest for Clark Kent. I don't like that. Like I don't like what they did here. And like in Superman 2, like they had like the whole also the kiss, the kiss of forgetfulness, or the memory wiping kiss. That is no. First of all, obviously not something that comes in that's not in the comics at all. Definitely not a superpower Superman would have. And also, that is real weird. And they used it again. They used it again in Superman 4. And I'm like, oh my gosh. He's just like, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna take you out, and I'm gonna tell you I'm Superman, take you out for a quick flight, and then wipe your memory. Real weird. But that was set by the theatrical cut of Superman 2. Yeah. And then it starts with the entire movie. Like just like, hey, let's just recap the entire first movie in the first 8 minutes. Really don't like it. Yeah. Anyways, I don't really like Superman 2. But I have been a little bit more positive about it since watching some of the other movies. Anyways, number 5, I think that's what we're on. Number 5, Superman Returns. This movie, like when I was like back, a while ago, like a year or so ago, when I was like watching all the Superman movies, I watched Superman 1, Superman 2, and then Superman Returns. I just like, I'm not watching Superman 3 or 4. But when I was doing that, I was a lot more positive on Superman Returns. And really, Brandon Routh as a Superman, he's pretty good, I should say. The effects, much better effects than any of the previous movies. Wow, yes, much better effects. Lovely. It's good. It's good to see. Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor, much better than Gene Hackman, specifically because he's not, I'm a criminal mastermind to the prison guard. Yeah, that's really gonna help you out in court. But he's menacing. He he starts off with an evil plan to get rich, and then he actually seems intelligent and sinister, and like he really sells that, and he's not as goofy or as dumb because the Gene Hackman Lex Luthor, he's not intelligent at all. He's just, yeah. Anyways, I'll get back to that in Superman. But in Superman Returns, the only problem is I don't like the fact that Superman left and came back, and also on top of that, if you do that, like maybe, I don't know, evolve the characters a little bit. I feel like this would have been a great time to evolve the characters a little bit more. You do have like Lois Lane gets married to another guy and she has a kid, except this kid is actually Superman's kid. And also Superman is kind of obsessed with Lois Lane throughout the entire movie. And I kind of wish, especially with like, I just kind of wish they didn't like go back to, he works at the Daily Planet, he is in love with Lois Lane, and maybe evolve the character a little bit more. Give him a different position in life coming back. I don't know, maybe do that. Maybe he doesn't do Clark Kent anymore. Maybe something else, right? Especially since we don't see, yeah, we do see this in Clark Kent. But like, can we see something more? If we're gonna do this thing, can we see something a little bit more? They did do a little bit of that with Lois Lane. She moved on, but then you have Clark Kent being a little creepy, spying and stuff. So that's not great. The effects, Lex Luthor, and the plan and the story are a little bit better than the older Superman movies, but not great. Anyways, number 4, we have Superman 2, the Donner cut. Yeah, so I watched the theatrical cut and then I rewatched the theatrical cut, then watched the Donner cut back to back, and doing that so I could like have a get a good so I could remember like what scenes were where, and get a good kind of understanding of like where the differences are. And the Donner cut cuts out like a lot of the really really stupid stuff that I hated about Superman 2. So a lot of all that like really awful, a lot of those like ridiculous superpower things, those were all cut. It's like, yes, thank you. There is some changes, alterations to the story in the Donner cut. There are some plot holes, some things that are not in the Donner cut that needed to be there, and there's some things that actually explain some stuff that the theatrical cut didn't. The missing footage, or the scenes that I feel like is like, okay, we're missing something here. I think that's because 70% of the film got shot along with Superman, the first Superman movie, when Richard Donner was directing it all. And then, and so when you've got like 70% of the movie, and like there's a point where like when they're at the Niagara Falls, and then Lois Lane shoots Clark Kent, and to reveal that he's Superman, and then he kind of reveals himself to her, and then they go straight to them flying to the Fortress of Solitude. There's like this whole thing is like, okay, where's all that we decided to go to the Fortress of Solitude scene like they had in the theatrical cut? And I'm pretty sure that's because they didn't get that shot, and they couldn't use what was in the theatrical cut because it was a whole different sequence. So my guess is that's probably why, like some of those things where it's like there's chunks of here that are kind of missing, and I think that's why. But I also liked how they kept a little bit more continuity. Zod felt like Zod and the other Kryptonians, they didn't feel as stupid to me, and they didn't have all these random powers, and they cut out like pretty much the entire end battle at the Fortress of Solitude. They explained why Superman gave up his powers a little bit better. So I think the Donner cut, a much better experience. And also I'm kind of like, I kind of like this one. And then I was like, okay, with the theatrical cut, okay, yeah, not as good, definitely, but I'm not heating on it anymore. So, number 3, we have the original 1978 Superman. This one, like last time I saw it, I think I've seen it maybe 2 or 3 times, but like the last time I saw it, I was like, this is terrible. Do not like this movie. And I've warmed up to it over time. Like I started off with I think the last time I rated it was like a 4 out of 10. And I was like, okay, I was too harsh on this movie. Because, it kind of does give you a lot of those classic Superman stuff, like Superman just taking care of regular criminals. And so you got some of that, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Sure, we don't get any of that classic Superman stuff anymore. And we've got to have a movie to have that Superman stuff in it. It's like, okay, sure. The Lex Luthor stuff is just idiotic. Like blowing up half of California so you can have beachfront property. It's like, who's going to buy that beachfront property? Also, you got to build the cities, because people don't just move to the desert and build houses anymore. That time is gone. Like the time of starting up a metropolitan area is gone. Like it takes a really, really long time to build up cities like Metropolis, like New York City, like LA. It takes an insane amount of time for that to happen. And you can't just kill everybody who's living there and then expect anybody to actually move to the desert. Also, it's like, okay, so you're gonna, sure, it's beachfront property, but it's near literally no cities. And you don't even have to, you can buy up beachfront property where you don't have to kill anybody, but it's all places where nobody wants it. Because there's a good amount of coast all the way up from California all the way up to Washington, and there's a lot of beachfront property, I'm sure, that nobody has bought up. But, here's the thing, it's not near a big city, so it's not valuable land. Location, location, location. And just because it's beachfront doesn't mean it's good. Yeah, in the more southern areas, most of that is usually all bought up. But yeah, you got to have it in ideal locations, and yeah, blowing up everybody who lives in that area and then just being like, hey, I'm going to start up a new city. He also doesn't have the money to start up a new city because he's not really that rich because this guy lives underground. Yeah, anyways. Also, he's not very intelligent. He's just surrounded by serious idiots. And he jumps to conclusions and they happen to be right. Because how he figured out kryptonite can harm Superman is because he's just like, well, he comes from an alien planet, so there must be an alien substance that harms him. It's like, sure, I guess, you know. Anyways, my number 2 pick, it really, honestly, my number 2 and number 1, they were really, 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 really close. Obviously, the only 2 left is Man of Steel and Superman 2025. And they were like neck and neck. Like I watched Man of Steel. I'd watched Superman 2025, and I watched Man of Steel, and then I had to go back and rewatch Superman 2025. And I'm just like after rewatching those movies, I was like, I don't know which one I like better because they are 2 very different movies. One is an origin story that's very in-depth, lore-rich, and really kind of digs into the themes and builds out characters and worlds and all this stuff. And it's a bit darker and a lot more epic and more like in the mythology. And then the other one is fun and it's a lot more Superman-y. And it takes the character and gives him like the real, like it injects that Superman DNA back into him. It takes all that modern special effects, and it doesn't need an origin story. It just kind of jumps you right back into the world of DC. And the Superman, just year 3, he's kind of a younger Superman, but you're just jumping right back into the action. You've got a whole established world already, so you're not building things out from step 1, really. And at the end of the day, I put Superman 2025 over Man of Steel. And really, it's just because I think Superman 2025 is more of a Superman movie. Honestly, I love Man of Steel. Man of Steel has been my favorite Superman movie and what I consider to be the best Superman movie up until now. And even then, like, I could probably flip-flop. Like, they're so close. They're so close. I could probably flip-flop between each one of them. But Man of Steel, I mean, it is like the epicness, you know? And personally, like, I like all of the, like, I like the Zack Snyder movies, really. Like, the epic nature of it all. And of course, a lot of media nowadays, a little bit more of a cynical, like, grounded, kind of like, how would the world really react if there was a Superman? A Superman that's like, you know, do I out myself? Do I help the world? And he's not really Superman in this movie. This is kind of him becoming, because at the end of the movie, that's when he becomes a reporter at the Daily Planet. That's kind of where it starts. It kind of ends with the start of Superman. But like the world building, the soundtrack, everything about this movie is just amazing. But then our number 1 pick, Superman, you know, I think it gives us our best Lex Luthor with Nicholas Hoult. He's as much classic Lex Luthor as you can get. He's bald, he's a billionaire, he's got, I don't know why they didn't call it LexCorp, they called it Luthor Corp, and I'm like, really? It's normally LexCorp. But like, he absolutely despises Superman. The entire plot of the movie is just Lex Luthor trying to take out Superman in every way possible, whether by reputation or by like getting him physically restrained. Any way he could possibly like bring Superman down is his entire goal, and it's just out of spite. And it's honestly pretty entertaining to watch. He is a very hateable version of Lex Luthor. He comes off as very intelligent. He's rich. He has all the makings of Lex Luthor. And in the future, I would love, especially because James Gunn has like really went all out comic booky. I want to see a Lex Luthor in a mech suit. Like, can we see this, please? A power armor Lex Luthor. Can we get this finally? Because like we haven't had any opportunity to bring this to life. Also, I'm really hoping with future with future DC projects, I want to see a lot more comic booky characters come in their comic booky form. Because like in the Batman, we got Riddler, and I was excited. And I'm like, Riddler, yay! And he's like what a loser, internet user, like who's obsessed with riddles, and he was an orphan, and he's got this weird suit with a mask and everything. I'm like, this is not the Riddler that I've seen in like the video games, and I don't really read comic books, but like, like the Batman Arkham characters are just like so good, and I think finally we have the chance to get some of these very comic booky characters, because like a Lex Luthor in a power armor. I need to see this. Green and purple power armor, Lex Luthor, I need it. And with Supergirl, I mean, listen, at the very end, you get a clip of, you get a short bit with Supergirl, and it sells the Supergirl movie for next year. Because there's going to be a Supergirl next, and I'm like, yes. And also, what would be really cool is if they brought in Red Lantern Supergirl for a bit. Boom, that would be insane. That would be crazy. I don't know I don't think they're gonna do that. But like some of these are really weird, cool things. Anyways, so as far as like just really good Superman fun, Superman 2025, that's what we get. And it gives me hope for a good DC run of superhero movies where we can get the superhero of superheroes. I've been wanting some good DC movies for a long time, and even though I really enjoy the Snyder era of movies, we just haven't really been getting like the MCU, like a definitive version of the DC characters, And I feel like David Cornsweet Superman could very well be. I feel like he could be that. So that is my ranking of all of the Superman movies that have been released theatrically. There's a lot more Superman content, but I do not have the time nor the money to go through and watch all that stuff. So anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao.